A few years ago, Brenda and I made the decision not to have a Christmas show. Scotia residents are too busy this time of year. And COVID, we could put a cast together. Even if we could put a cast together, we could miss a lot of rehearsal time and cast members being exposed and quarantined. So much for a good idea. Welcome to the Scotia Village 2023 Christmas Show. Last year's Christmas chorus is this year's established choir. Ladies and gentlemen, the Village Voices. turn your mic on.
Well done, Dougie. Looking forward, remember?
Be sure they're turned on. On a crisp, clear morning in 1914, thousands of British, Belgian, and French soldiers put down their rifles, stepped out of their trenches, and spent Christmas mingling with the German enemies across the Western Front. In the 109 years since the event has been seen as a kind of miracle, a rare moment of peace, just a few months into a war that would eventually claim over 15 million lives. Still, over a century later, the truce has been remembered as a testament to the power of hope and humanity in a truly dark hour of history. Richard King, Owen McNulty, Doug Henderson, Bob Bedingfield will write their letter home to describe it and give you more details.
Christmas Day, 1914. Dear Mother,
My darling Meg,
My good friend Charles,
My dear sister Janet,
it's 2 in the morning, and most of our men are asleep in their dugouts.
yet I could not sleep myself before writing to you of the wonderful events of Christmas Eve.
in truth, what happened seems almost like a fairy tale, and if I hadn't been there through it myself, I would scarce believe it.
just imagine, while you and the family sang carols before the fire there in London, I did the same with enemy soldiers here on the battlefields of France.
As I wrote before, there has been little serious fighting of late. The first battles of the war left so many dead that both sides have held back until replacements could come from home. So we have mostly stayed in our trenches and waited.
But what a terrible waiting it's been, knowing that at any moment an artillery shell might land and explode beside us in the trench, killing or maiming several men. And in the daylight, not daring to lift our heads above the ground for fear of a sniper's bullet.
And the rain, it has fallen almost daily. Of course, it collects right in the trenches where we must bail it out with pots and pans. And with the rain has come mud, a good foot or more deep.
It splatters and cakes on everything and constantly sucks up our boots. One new recruit got his feet stuck in it and then his hands too when he tried to get out, just like in that American story of the tar baby.
Through all this, we couldn't help feeling curious about the German soldiers across the way. After all, they faced the same dangers we did and slogged about in the same muck.
What's more, their first trench was only 50 yards beyond ours. Between us lay no man's land, bordered on both sides by barbed wire, and yet they were close enough that we sometimes heard their voices.
Of course, we hated them whenever they killed our friends, but other times we joked about them and almost felt we had something in common.
And now it seems they felt the same.
Just yesterday morning, Christmas Eve day, we had our first good freeze. Old as we were, we welcomed it because at least the mud froze solid.
Everything was tinged white with frost. While a bright sun shone above everything, it was perfect Christmas weather.
During the day, there was little shelling or rifle fire from either side. And as darkness fell on our Christmas Eve, the shooting stopped entirely.
Our first complete silence in months. We hoped it might promise a peaceful holiday, but we didn't count on it. We've been told the Germans might attack and try to catch us off guard.
I went to the dugout to rest, and lying on my cot, I must have drifted asleep. All at once, my friend was shaking me awake, saying, "Come and see what the Germans are doing." I grabbed my rifle, stumbled out into the trench, and stuck my head cautiously above the sandbag.
I never hoped to see a stranger or more lovely sight. Clusters of tiny lights were shining all along the German line, left and right, as far as the eye could see.
"What is it?" I asked in bewilderment, and someone answered, "Christmas trees."
And so it was. The Germans had placed Christmas trees in front of their trenches, lit by candle or lanterns, like beacons of goodwill.
And then we heard their voices raised in song. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht.
This carol may not be familiar to us in Britain, but one soldier knew it and translated Silent Night, Holy Night. I've never heard one lovelier or more meaningful in that quiet, clear night. It's dark, softened by the first quarter moon.
When the song finished, the men in our trenches applauded. Yes, British soldiers applauding Germans.
And then one of our own men started singing, and we all joined in. The first Noel, the angel did say.
In truth, we sounded not nearly as good as the Germans with their fine harmonies, but they responded with enthusiastic applause of their own, and then began another, O Tannenbaum, O Tannenbaum.
And then we replied, O come, O ye faithful.
But this time they joined in, singing the words in Latin. Adeste fidelis.
British and German harmonizing across no man's land. I would have thought nothing could be more amazing, but what came next was more so.
English, come over, we heard one of them shout. You know shoot, we know shoot.
There in the trenches, we looked at one another in bewilderment. And then one of us shouted jokingly, you come over here.
To our astonishment, we saw two figures rise from the trench, climb over their barbed wire, and advance unprotected across no man's land.
One of them called, "Send officer to talk."
I saw one of our men lift his rifle to the ready, and no doubt others did the same. But our captain called out, "Hold your fire!" Then he climbed out and went to meet the Germans halfway.
We heard them talking. And a few minutes later, the captain came back with a German cigar in his mouth. We've agreed that there would be no shooting before midnight tomorrow, he announced. But sentries ought to remain on duty and the rest of you stay alert.
Across the way, we could make out groups of 2 or 3 men starting out of trenches and coming toward us.
Then some of us were climbing out too. And in minutes more, there we were in no man's land, over 100 soldiers and officers on each side, shaking hands with men we'd been trying to kill just hours earlier.
Before long, a bonfire was built, and around it we mingled. British khaki and German gray. I must say the Germans were the better dressed, with fresh uniforms for the holiday.
Only a couple of our men knew German, but more of the Germans knew English. I asked one of them why that was, Well, because many of us have worked in England, he said. Before all this, I was a waiter at the Hotel Cecil. Perhaps I waited on your table. Perhaps you did, I laughed.
One German told me he had a girlfriend in London and that the war had interrupted their plans for marriage. I said, "Don't worry, we'll have you beat by Easter. Then you can come back and marry the girl." He laughed at that. Then he asked if I send her a postcard he'd give me later, and I promised I would.
Another German had been a porter at Victoria Station. He showed me a picture of the family back in Munich. His eldest sister was so lovely. I told him I would like to meet her someday. He beamed and said he would like that very much and gave me his family's address.
Even those who could not converse could still exchange gifts. Our cigarettes for their cigars, our tea for their coffee, our corned beef for their sausage. Badges and buttons from uniforms changed owners, and one of our lads walked off with the infamous spiked helmet.
I myself traded a jackknife for a leather equipment belt. A fine souvenir to show when I get home.
Newspapers, too, changed hands, and the Germans howled with laughter at ours. They assured us that France was finished and Russia nearly beaten, too.
We told them that was nonsense. And one of them said, "Well, you believe your newspapers and we'll believe ours."
Clearly, they are lied to. Yet after meeting these men, I wonder how truthful our own newspapers have been.
These are not the savage barbarians we've read so much about. They're men with homes and families, hopes and fears, principles, and yes, love of country.
In other words, men like ourselves.
Why are we led to believe otherwise?
As it grew late, a few more songs were traded around the fire, and then all joined in for "I Am Not Lying to You, Auld Lang Syne."
And then we parted with promises to meet again tomorrow.
And even some talk of a football match.
I was just starting back to the trenches when an older German clutched my arm. "My goodness," he said, "why cannot we have peace and all go home?" I told him gently that you must ask your emperor. He looked at me, then searchingly, "Perhaps, my friend, but also we must ask our hearts."
And so, dear mother,
Dear wife,
Dear friend,
Dear sister,
tell me, has there ever been such a Christmas Eve in all history?
and what does it all mean, this impossible befriending of enemies?
for the fighting here, of course, it means regrettably little. Decent fellows though soldiers may be, but they follow orders and we do the same.
besides, we are here to stop their army and send it home, and never could we shirk that duty.
Still, one cannot help imagine what would happen if the spirit shown here were caught by the nations of the world.
Of course, disputes must always arise.
But what if our leaders were to offer well wishes in place of warnings?
Songs in place of slurs.
Presents in place of reprisals.
Would not all wars end at once?
All nations say they want peace.
Yet, on this Christmas morning, I wonder if we want it quite enough.
Yours truly,
Yours always,
Sincerely,
With all my love,
John.
Andrew.
Philip.
and Tom.
I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. She didn't see me creep down the stairs to take a peek. She thought that I was tucked up in my bedroom fast asleep. But I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath his beard so snowy white. What a laugh it would have been if Daddy had only seen Mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. Sing with me. I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. She didn't see me creep down the stairs to take a peek. She thought that I was tucked up in my bedroom fast asleep. But I saw Mommy tickle Santa Claus underneath his beard so snowy white. Oh, what a laugh it would have been if Daddy had only seen Mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. Y'all sounded great. Thank you. Now we're going to do an old standard Christmas song. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow may find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh, and every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas.
Going down, down. Against the curve.
Well, Charlie, what are you doing here? You ought to be at home with your family. It's Christmas Eve.
Well, Maggie, I understand that. And I could probably say the same thing back to you. But as I sat down to eat my Christmas supper with tenderloin, my phone started ringing off the hook. Maggie, tell me, you did not really arrest a church tonight, did you?
Well, of course not, Judge. I just arrested their nativity scene.
Oh, no. Why would you do that, Maggie? It's Christmas Eve, for goodness sake. And now, are you telling me that we've got Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus locked up in our jail right here?
Well, sir, you have to understand, Doris Milligan called in with a complaint. And for once, she was right.
And what is the Laurinburg Exchange gonna say about this in the morning?
Well, sir, I think that if you just read the complaint, you'll understand.
Doris Miller. It would have to be her, wouldn't it? Very well. Let me take another look at these charges. I started from home, Maggie. Let me see the charges. Maggie, are you sure you're not exaggerating this?
All I can say is you just wait till you hear from them yourself.
All right. I guess we're going to have to deal with this tonight. Try to get these folks home for Christmas. Just let me get my Justice of the Peace garb on, and then you could bring them in.
Oh,
This is the
I can't believe it. I know
It was all quiet, all quiet.
I want to know what is all this stuff going on here. I did not do nothing.
All right, let's get some order in here. Now we've got quite a list of charges we've got to get through tonight. Who wants to be the spokesperson?
Well, I reckon I've been nominated.
All right, let's get the recording going. Please state your name for the record.
Charlie, you know me. It's Chester Blevins. Well, your brother Horace and I, well, we go hunting together.
Mr. Blevins, I'll have you know this is a court of law, and you will address me as Your Honor. Would you like to, well, let me back up. We've probably lost ourselves. Deputy Perkins, would you open court, please?
All rise! All rise!
Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yes! This honorable court for the state of North Carolina, the county of Scotland, and the village of Scotia is now open for the sitting and the dispatch of business. God save the state, the court, and the group of fools who have gathered here tonight to witness this play.
You may be seated.
Now, Mr. Blevins, let's back up. You will address me as Your Honor, and I need you to clarify some of these charges. Would you explain to me what happened tonight?
Well, Your Honor, this has all been one big misunderstanding. You see, our church, the Fairlawn Church of the Good Shepherd, well, we was putting on this live nativity, and, well, things just got completely out of hand. Now, mind you, nobody was seriously hurt, and we'll be more than willing to repay any damages that has happened. We were just You know, just trying to put on the spirit of Christmas. Goodwill toward men. And I hope that's the same spirit that you'll take into consideration when you hear what happened.
I'll be the judge of that, Mr. Blevins. All right, let's address this arson charge first. Harvey Detwilder. State your name for the record, please, sir.
Harvey Ditwilder, Your Honor, and that's a bogus charge.
He caught the church cemetery on fire, Your Honor.
That wasn't my fault. You see, Your Honor, I play the role of the shepherd, watching his flock by night. Well, sir, I had all the sheep all bedded down, and all was calm, just like it was supposed to be. Well, it was getting a mite chilly, and I thought I might build a small campfire. You know, like they would have done way back then. So I built myself a small, little campfire, and it was completely contained until that mule of Clyde's went off like he did.
A mule?
The animal cruelty charge, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, sir. That critter just come charging out of nowhere, dragging that bushel basket behind him and scattered that fire and the sheep all over the place. But there wasn't that much damage. After all, it was just a cemetery. It just burned a bunch of old dried up wreaths, that's all.
Is that correct, Deputy Perkins?
I don't have the report back from the fire department yet, but it doesn't look like the fire went outside the cemetery.
All right. Let's get back to this mule again. Who was responsible for the mule?
That would be me, Your Honor, Clyde Jenkins, and I object
You object to what?
to the charge of animal cruelty. Jasper is just fine.
Jasper?
The mule, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. I don't even know that I can say it. Go ahead and tell me about Mr. Jasper, Mr.
Well,
Jenkins.
since John Ward loaned us a cow for the nativity stable and some sheep for the shepherd's pasture, well, me and Philip Musselwhite come up with the idea how we might make us a camel for the wise men.
Philip Musselwhite?
He's one of the other kings, Your Honor.
And why isn't he here, Deputy Perkins?
He's in the emergency room, Your Honor. I had another deputy take him to the hospital for treatment. The charges against him are still pending.
Exactly what happened to Mr. Musselwhite?
He was standing behind old Jasper when he went off.
That's not a smart move, you know. You should never stand behind a mule that's getting a bushel basket strapped to his back.
And the other king?
That would be Clint Willis, sir. I have an APB out after him for evading authorities and resisting arrest.
Oh, Clint wasn't evading or resisting nothing. He just ran off because he was trying to catch up with old Jasper.
All right. Let's get back to the mule. How were you going to turn a mule into a camel?
Well, Your Honor, we figured that if we were to tie a bushel basket to his back, then throw a blanket over it, why, in the dark, mind you, he just might pass for a camel.
And the mule stood for that?
Well, I sort of had to give him a little something to make him more manageable before I tried it.
which was
Some of Eunice's mulberry wine.
You did what?
you got the mule drunk.
Oh, no, not drunk, just a little mellow. I think it works for Eunice.
I'll have you know that my mulberry wine is used for medicinal purposes only.
Well, you sure must be a sickly person then, Eunice.
You're going to be getting some medicine pretty soon if you don't start minding your own business, Minerva. And as for you, Clyde Jenkins, you should know that it takes me a whole year to make my mulberry wine, not to mention the heaps of your underwear that I have to use.
Underwear?
Yes, Fruit of the Looms makes the best fabric for straining out all the dregs of the wine.
Wait just a minute. You mean you strained that wine of yours through Clyde's underwear? Oh.
Don't get excited, Harvey. I buy fresh underwear every year from Walmart. Clyde doesn't get to wear them until after mulberry season.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's more than a little bit embarrassing, let me tell you.
Oh, they're perfectly fine. Besides, nobody sees your underwear anyway.
You hang them on the line, woman. What people supposed to think?
Oh, me? I thought you had a medical condition. I was going to put you on my prayer list.
Let's get back to the mule, shall we? What happened that set him off, as you say?
Here's what happened, Your Honor. She come charging out of that manger, screaming like a banshee.
I was just shaking off the straw, and he put my grandmother's handmade quilt on the back of that nasty old land mule.
Eunice, I'm supposed to be a king. A king wouldn't be sitting down on just any old blanket.
Well, you better be looking for any old blanket tonight while you're sleeping on the couch.
Deputy Perkins, I take it this is the domestic disturbance charge?
Yes, sir. She was beating him with that old blanket. I was only shaking the straw off. Besides, was it me who spooked old Jasper? It was our heavenly host over here, trying to hit that high C in that song that they were trying to sing.
I'll have you know I've been told I have the voice of a bird.
Yeah, a crow.
Why, you?
Order in this court! Deputy Perkins, I suppose the assault charge pertains to these two?
Not until just now, Your Honor. The original charge was between Mr. Blevins and the Culpepper sisters.
That's because he tackled us, Your Honor.
It was an accident, Your Honor. I didn't mean no harm.
All right. Tell me exactly what happened, Mr. Blevins.
Well, you see, Your Honor, Eunice, being married, she had a hold of baby Jesus. Well, when she saw Clyde with her granny's quilt on old Jasper, she just flung baby Jesus up in the air and took off. Well, I didn't think that was no way to treat baby Jesus, so I just dove after him and caught him before he hit the ground.
Did you see that catch of his? Why, it put me in mind of his old football days. So what if he jarred the hay bales a little?
Jarred the hay bales. He knocked them clean out from under us.
Well, old Bessie broke your fall, didn't she?
Well, but nearly trampled us in the process. Look, she broke one of my wings.
Bessie?
The cow, Your Honor.
What was I supposed to do? Let baby Jesus hit the ground?
Mr. Blevins, this wasn't a real child, was it?
Oh, no, Your Honor. I mean, nobody would trust us with a real child. It was just a doll. But it was the principle of the thing. It stood for baby Jesus.
You know, Eunice, you really shouldn't be flinging baby Jesus around like that. Just ain't respectful.
I'll show you some respect, Harvey Detweiler.
Simmer down, Eunice. We're in enough trouble already.
All right. Let's go to the violation of the noise ordinance charge.
That would be their singing, Judge.
For your information, we had not even started our song.
She's right. What you heard was the cow bellowing when Minerva landed on it.
Oh, really? I couldn't tell the difference.
I'm warning you, Eunice.
Bring it on, Minerva.
Easy, easy, Minnie. Easy, Minnie. Remember, we are ladies. Unlike other people we know.
You want some of this, Gladys?
One more outburst out of either one of you ladies, and I'm going to find you in contempt of court. Deputy, confiscate that quilt from Miss Jenkins. All right. And now, what about the charge of destruction of private property? Is that related to the fire in the cemetery?
No, sir. That's related to the animals destroying Doris Milligan's flower garden.
Whose?
Oh no, not Doris Milligan. She's been threatening to sue the church for years.
She can't sue the church, can she, Judge? I mean, after all, we're Christ's representatives on the earth.
Well, just how well did y'all represent him this evening?
Why, what do you mean?
Well, like all of you said before, Christmas is a time of peace and goodwill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Jesus is a man of love and forgiveness. Is that also correct?
Of course it is. That's what we have been trying to tell the people with our nativity tonight.
Well, to be quite honest, I haven't noticed any peace, any love, or any forgiveness in this room tonight. Now, am I wrong? Very well. I'm ready to hear your pleas now. Harvey Detweiler, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Chester Blevins,
Guilty, Your Honor.
Clyde Jenkins,
Guilty, Your Honor.
Eunice Jenkins. Eunice Jenkins.
Guilty, Your Honor.
Minerva Culpepper.
Guilty, Your Honor.
Gladys Culpepper.
Guilty, Your Honor.
Very well. But before I render my decision, I want to explain to you that this court has the prerogative to consider intent when trying to decide an appropriate punishment. And it's the opinion of this court that there was no malicious intent behind these misdemeanors tonight.
That's right, Your Honor. We were just trying to tell people about Jesus. Things just went a little haywire, that's all.
We sure didn't mean no harm.
That's why I have decided to sentence all 6 of you to community service. Harvey Detwilder, Clyde Jenkins, Chester Blevins. I sentence each of the 3 of you to clean and repair the tombstones of the Fairlawn Community Cemetery and to replace any wreaths that may have been destroyed by your actions. Eunice Jenkins, Minerva and Gladys Culpepper, I sentence the 3 of you to replacing and restoring the garden of Doris Milligan to its previous condition. Are there any questions from any of you? Very well. Court's adjourned.
All right.
You're free to go.
Maybe it won't be so bad, Gladys. Doris did have a pretty garden, and it's only right we should put it back the way it was. Maybe we can go over and survey the damage and pick out what she'll need come spring.
You know,
That's the Christian thing to do.
I could take her some of my mulberry wine, might mellow her out a little bit.
And I thought that was just for medicinal purposes only.
It is. But have you seen that face of hers? Oh, she's bound to be suffering from some sort of intestinal problem. I'll set her to rights in no time.
You know, maybe Walmart will put those wreaths on sale after Christmas. We could save a few bucks.
That would just suit you fine, wouldn't it, Chester?
Well, what's wrong with saving a few bucks?
I wonder if they got something to clean soot.
You know, while we were there in the cemetery, I noticed some of those old headstones were kind of leaning a bit. Now, if we'd hit your old Jasper...
No, you leave that arson
We've had
seal
enough trouble out of that.
No, we've had enough. We've had enough of that deal. We're out of here.
And Doris!
Hey!
Thank you.
Come on, dear. Come on, dear. Good job.